Hey, I said since the day that I got here, on my preview weekend when I was preaching and teaching in view of a call, we had a Crossroads graduation, and I remember they had reached out and they said, hey, we're doing this graduation. We know you're going to be teaching. Is that something that you would be okay with? And I thought, absolutely. And the fact that a church partners with ministries like Crossroads, I just knew in my heart that this is where I wanted to be. And I'll say it over and over again. Crossroads is a ministry that gives people like my mom a second chance. And if my mom would have had a ministry like Crossroads to be a part of, I truly believe that she would still be alive today. And so I cannot say enough about what Miss Vicky does and about what our church does for Crossroads Ministry. It's truly incredible. So thank you to every single person who continues to give to Vertical, to serve at Vertical, and who's a part of Crossroads Ministry. It truly means the world to us. And I'm overwhelmed by Hope for Weekend, and I'll get to that at the end of my message. I want to just jump straight into the topic in the rooted topic that we're going to address today. And honestly, I was praying about this for weeks, and it's the topic that you never really want to teach about because you're just so worried that everybody's going to be like, oh, great, here we go. Preacher just wants my money. And I said, Lord, you would make it rain today, because everybody that's not committed to this place isn't going to come today because it's raining. So the people that need to be given ain't going to be here, Lord. But no, I trust God with this message. I trust God with his word, and I'm confident that it's going to do exactly what it's supposed to do. And I remember I was flying like 3 weeks ago, and I was flying into Denver. And growing up, flying was probably my biggest fear because I just didn't grow up doing it. I remember I got on my first plane at 17. And just being radically aware of this loss of control that you have when you step on that airplane, which the control that we have with 2 feet on the ground is a pretty big illusion as well. But I don't know, something about an airplane. And it's gotten better, it's gotten easier, I'm more fascinated by it. But 3 weeks ago, I was flying to Denver, and I was sitting next to a man and a woman, and I'm an introvert, I don't like to talk, especially on an airplane. I'm just like, hey, I'm good, I'm content to myself. And of course, asked me a question, hey man, where you headed? I'm like, Denver, obviously, you know? And yeah, I said, you too, or are you just laying over? You know, wanted to kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. He's like, yeah, we're getting married out here. I was like, oh, really? I said, congratulations. And if you know anything about Denver, it doesn't matter if the skies are clear, turbulence occurs like no other around that airport. And so he asked a question that I can't stand when people ask me on an airplane. I don't know why. Maybe I need to process this and pray about it. But he's like, what do you do? And all of a sudden the plane like drops. And I was like, oh, it's so funny that you ask. And I said, I work for a church. I'm scared. And he said, really? How did that happen? And I'm like, really? I have to share my testimony right now. And this plane's about to go down. Like, come on. All right, Lord. And I was like, yeah, well, I was 17 and the plane's shaking and yep, gave my life to Jesus and just trust him with every aspect of my life, you know? And I can't talk, I can't really breathe just because the plane is shaking. And I'm talking like 4 feet drops. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it was a lot. And I had this thought of, it's kind of like when we talk about finances. It's kind of like when we hit turbulence. And it's like, wait, what? You're gonna ask me about, my money? That's my money. And I was laughing because it's like the drawer or the room in the house that you don't clean. And if anybody ever comes over and they opened that door to that room or that drawer, you'd be mortified, right? You're like, no, that door's off limits. Like, hey, we keep everything else clean in the house, but don't you dare go in my closet, right? Don't you dare go in our master bathroom because you're gonna see stuff growing in there that shouldn't be growing, okay? And finances are like that. And honestly, I think it's kind of funny. And even growing up, being someone who wasn't raised in the church, I always had like a bent perspective. I'm like, all you churches care about is money. And it's true. All churches do care about is money. Why? Because God cares a lot about our money. Why? Because God cares a lot about our heart. That's why. And we see in the scriptures that Jesus, take all of his parables, right? 33% of them talk about finances or possessions. They're a big deal to Jesus. Big deal. And money is one of those topics, if we're honest, it makes everyone a little uncomfortable. And I want us to lean into that, because I think if we continue to lean into this topic and this heart issue, God is gonna meet us in a way that we have never met him before. But if we're honest, money, it's emotional, it's personal, and it's powerful. It's powerful. And the reason is because money is a mirror that reveals who we are, or better yet, who has our heart. The truth is, and I'm gonna say this multiple times, God cares deeply about our money because he cares deeply about our heart. That's why God cares about our money. And money is magnetic. It pulls at our affections, at the things that our heart longs for and desires. Money pulls at that. And it's not just materialism, it can be security. It can be the prestige that comes with it, the status that comes with it. All of these things pull at our heart. There is a pull happening on all of our hearts, and it's toward temporary pleasure. It's toward treasure that is fleeting. Do you know what one of the number one epidemics is in the lives of our teens right now? Most parents aren't even aware of this. It's crazy. So, there's four, really. Drugs, alcohol, pornography. Do you know what the fourth one is? Today. This is like a new trending epidemic that's happening. Gambling. Did you know that? People, yeah. Gambling. Teenagers have access to gambling on their phones. Sports betting, casinos on their phones. Even in a state where it's illegal, they have access to it. And it's one of the number one problems and epidemics in the lives of our young people right now. The world is after our heart because there's an enemy. And if he can distract us with temporary pleasure and treasure that is fleeting, then he will have won at destroying our lives. That's why Jesus cares so much about this topic. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 19, he says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." I had this beautiful picture of my family, my mom and dad in California that took my brother and I in. And I've told you this many times. General contractor, construction worker, kindergarten teacher. They were not wealthy by any means. And every dollar they got, they invested it because they were so wise. And they put it in their 501, what is it called? 401k, 501s. Shows how much I know about my retirement. 403b, IRA, Roth. They invested every dollar they got, not into any of those things, which some people may say it's foolish, right? They invested it into the lives of their 7 children, my brother and I being 2 of them, and another 2 being adopted kids. 7 children, they have 9 children. Who am I kidding? And then their 5 biological kids. How do I know this? Because I saw the Costco bill. As a 16-year-old boy, I would go to the grocery store with her. And it was $700 to $1,000 every 2 weeks. And I was thinking about them. Jesus doesn't say it's wrong to have treasure. He says what matters most is where we're storing it. Where are you storing your treasure? Is it on the earth or is it in the kingdom? Where are you investing your treasure? Your time, your talents, your resources, your money? Are you storing it and amassing it in the earth? Or are you storing it up in the kingdom? And I was, even just this week, I was thinking about them. We call him Boss Man. Even the great-great-grandkids call him Boss. And we call her Mama. And I had this thought that of their 9 kids, Boss and Mama will for sure never, ever see a retirement home. Not for one day. Why? Because they invested wisely. They will have 9 children that will take care of them in an instant because of how they invested their treasure. What you treasure most reveals what you trust most. That's why Jesus continues with this in Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot, it's impossible to serve both God and money. But we try to. I love going on walks with my son, and I'll bring the stroller, and it's to like safeguard him from cars. And because he walks now, he's 2.5, and he's fascinated with like every good young boy with picking up rocks and throwing them at things. I'm just like, not the cars, buddy, okay? And he picks these rocks up, and he's like storing rocks in both of his hands. And I'm like, Miles, dude, like put some rocks down, you know? And I saw this happen just this last week. He's clenching so many rocks in both hands, and he doesn't focus on where his feet are going because he's so focused on the rocks, and he tripped and he fell with both of his hands clenched. So what do you think happened? Brace for impact, right? Could not break his fall. His mom's in the room like, you didn't tell me about this. He was fine. We rubbed some dirt on it. We used to rub dirt on it, and now we got essential oils that we can rub on it, but we rubbed some dirt on it. And I had this image where I'm like, that's us trying to serve God and money. We're walking around and we have our hands clenched, and we're like, oh, well, I'm going to church on Sunday, I'm serving the Lord. Oh, but I haven't tithed since I've been going to this church, and I just don't even care about the kingdom work that's happening. I've got rent to pay, I've got a mortgage, I've got bills, I've got to feed these kids. And we're walking around like this. And all those things are important things, mind you. But we're walking around with both of our fists clenched on what we think we're serving, and before you know it, we're gonna end up flat on our face because it's impossible to serve both God and money. There's no middle ground here. Jesus doesn't say it's hard to serve two masters. He doesn't say very few can do it. He says it's impossible. Money doesn't just want to be spent. It wants to be served. Money is after our heart, just like God is. And we cannot say that Jesus is Lord if money still dominates our thoughts, our mind, our heart in every decision we make. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10 says, for the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. Now, disclaimer here. Paul does not say that money is evil. He says the love of money is evil. We protect that in which we love. We guard that in which we love. Money itself is neutral. It's a tool. But when our heart starts to serve it, it becomes destructive. Money promises only what God can deliver. I think of one of the wealthiest guys in the world, in Steve Jobs. All the money in the world, and he couldn't prolong his life. We think money promises us security. We think it promises us happiness. And so many people have traded so much time and effort, even their faith and their family, and their very peace for the false promises that money makes. It's a lie. It's a lie. That's why Jesus says in Luke chapter 12, verse 15, he says, watch out. Be on guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. I've said ever since I was in my early 20s and I saw my mom just go through so much pain and heartache, that when we get to the end of our life, we are not gonna think about our possessions. We're not gonna think about our lake house. We're not gonna think about our boat. We're not gonna think about our big trucks. I want a truck so badly. One day, I promise. Shows where my heart's at, right? We're not gonna think about our possessions. I'll drive the Hyundai till I die, Lord, if that's your will for my life. Please, God, please Bless me. Greed is sneaky. It's the number one sin that everybody thinks they do not have. I'm like, Vertical, we need a company truck, right? I can drive it. We'll use it in the Gluckstadt parade every year. You guys cool with that? Oh, it's advertising. We're saving souls. I'll put stickers and decals all over it. We can see greed in others, but we can't see it in ourselves. No, you don't know my intentions. I'll do great things with that money. I promise you. Test me, Lord. The moment you think that's not me, that's the moment that greed has got you. That's the moment. And here's just a reminder for all of us. All of us in plenty or in want, rich, poor, all of us. The problem is greed and the pull of earthly treasures. So then what's the solution? We start by remembering where everything comes from. And there's this passage in Deuteronomy. I love this. It's in the Old Testament, and Moses is giving a warning to God's people. And I want to read this in full to you. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 17 through 20. You may say to yourself, my power and the strength of my hands, my intellect, my skill have produced this wealth for me. But remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms his covenant, which he swore to your ancestors as it is today. If you ever forget the Lord your God and follow other gods and worship and bow down to them, golden calves, I testify against you today that you will surely be destroyed. Like the nations the Lord destroyed before you, so you will be destroyed for not obeying the Lord your God. I cannot tell you how many people I meet that are so successful, and they're so quick to talk down on other people who are not as successful. And they say things like, well, anybody can do it if you just had the work ethic. No, everybody cannot. Not everybody has your personality and your gifting and your wiring. We just don't. But everything we do have has been given to us by the Lord. Everything, every ability you have has been given to you by the Lord. So remember where it all comes from. Remember where it all comes from. So what's the remedy for this gravitational pull, this magnetic force? The remedy is generosity. It's generosity. Even when we don't feel like it, because we don't follow our feelings, we act in faith, the remedy is generosity. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 6 and 8 and verse 11, read this. Remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. And whoever sows generously will also reap generously. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion. Very important, for God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. Verse 11, you will be enriched in every way. Why? So that I could buy my truck. So that you can be generous on every occasion. And through us, Paul says, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. Paul paints this beautiful picture, as did Jesus many times, of farmers and sowing and reaping. Think about this with me for a second. Do you think farmers, when they would go out and they would till the land and they would get ready to sow their seed, do you think they would go out and just reluctantly, begrudgingly just sow their seed? Like, oh gosh, I've been saving this all winter. I don't know what the proper harvest season is, right? I'm not a gardener, but I've been saving this all winter and could have made some bread with this, whatever wheat germ it is, but I've got to sow it so that I can grow more. Ugh, I hate this. No, they sowed generously. Why? Because they expected a harvest. They expected a harvest. They expected a return far greater than they could ever imagine. Some of us, with our resources, we're like, gosh, I know God calls me to give, but I just want to go buy that Lululemon top. I've been looking at it for weeks. I want to go on that vacation. 30A. Disneyland, I'm coming after all of you. Disney World, sorry. It will only be my second trip this year. It's a girls' trip, right? We took the family last time. We didn't even have fun. Farmers don't cry when they throw seed into the ground. They expect a harvest. They're glad. Why, when we give, when we plant seeds of kingdom impact that multiply in ways that we can never imagine, would we ever for a second do that begrudgingly? It's all about the heart posture. God doesn't want a reluctant giver. He doesn't want someone to give out of compulsion. And I don't want any person in here, and I'm gonna ask you to give, best believe that, okay? But I don't want anybody that's in here for a second to give out of guilt or because Nate said so. I want you to pray about it. I want you to process it. Generosity is not about money leaving our hands. You know what it's about? It's about idols leaving our heart. That's what it's about. And all of our hearts are drawn to worship idols. It's since the beginning of time. We are no better than the Israelites as they exited the promised land, okay? And here's the reality. As these idols leave our hearts, generosity in our hearts begins to grow. And at first, we don't feel like it, but we don't make decisions based solely off our feelings. And then we start to see what it looks like and the impact that God can have in our world through our life when we live generously. And so here's my question as we get ready to close. What are we really living for? What are we really living for? Proverbs, the wisest man in the world, King Solomon says this. He says in chapter 23, verse 4, he says, do not wear yourself out to get rich. Do not trust your own cleverness. Remember where your ability comes from. Cast but a glance at riches, and they are gone. For they will surely sprout wings and fly off to the sky like an eagle. Now, I'm not saying for a second, don't be wise with your money. I'm not saying don't worry about a retirement account. God will take care of you. I think that's stupid, okay? Don't do that. Be wise with your money. But I'm also saying that you need to prioritize generosity in your life. We have to. We have to. And remember how fleeting our finances really are. Isn't it so funny? We pray for a raise. We do. And then we get a raise. We dream about a level of income when we're younger, and then you get to that level of income and you go, oh my gosh, I need a whole lot more. Because no one told me eggs and milk and gas cost this much. My friends are like, you live in Mississippi? Man, you must have a mansion. I'm like, dude, what? It's not just shacks and mud huts out here. Like, what are you talking about? People still gotta live. Cost of living ain't much here as it was in Arizona, I'll tell you that much right now. But we can't fixate and focus on those things. We have to focus on how we can be generous. And it's funny because our expenses always find a way to rise to the level of our income, don't they? Always. Money promises stability, but it flies away faster than we can catch it. Lottery winners, do you know what ends up happening to them? They end up bankrupt, divorced, miserable, and alone. Who in here wants to win the lottery? The Lord can trust you with it, huh? It'll be different, I promise. I promise, God. 10% right off the top, going to the church. All right, I want you to win the lottery too then. Let's go. And then I want to end with this as I'm just going to cast some vision for our Giving Sunday that's coming up. Proverbs chapter 23, verse 6 and verse 7. I love this. Do not eat the food of a begrudging host. Do not crave his delicacies, for he is the kind of person who is always thinking about the cost. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. Have you ever encountered a begrudging host? Like, yeah, man, been saving this stuff for years, top shelf. And they're just watching you drink it like, Have you ever encountered a begrudging host? It's someone where you just feel like you're really not welcome. Like they're just doing the right things because that's what they're supposed to do, but you just like, hey, I can feel it, like I'm not gonna ask for seconds. Have you ever encountered a grandma on Thanksgiving who spent days preparing the food and she just wants to stuff you full until you're sick? That's what I'm talking about. I fill my plate so full that there's no way I could get seconds, and I go back for more still. And she's like, aren't you still hungry, honey? No, well, we got the pie. Yep, bring it on out. That's a generous host. Generous host. They fill you so full of goodness it makes you sick. Now, what do you want to be? A begrudging host or a generous host? We're all hosts here. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. So then let me ask you a question. Does money direct your life, or does God? And this is what I want you to do. I want you to make a decision, either in this moment, today, or throughout this next week. I want you to make a decision. I don't want you to leave here and to not have committed to praying about making a decision. And if you haven't made a decision by next Sunday will be your opportunity to make a decision, but I want you to make a decision. Your church, Vertical. This place will live on long after all of us are gone. I don't know how long I'm gonna be the pastor of this church. I pray it's many, many years. I can't get enough of this place. We had Hope for a Weekend, and I didn't wanna be anywhere else but here. It's a special group of people you are. And we want to continue to make this place a home for our community. We want this to be a beacon of hope, a place of refuge. And this space, our building, it's been here for over 10 years, and it's being used every day of the week, and we could not be happier. Our budget has been like right at $1 million since I got here, okay? It's right at $1 million. It hasn't grown, but when I first got here, it dropped off, some giving dropped off, which is normal, but it's back up, praise God, and it's at $1 million. I want to grow our budget to 1.5 this next year. At Vertical Church, there was 150 to 180 regular attenders when I first got here. There was plenty more in the past before me, before COVID. This church God has had his hand on this place. He's rebuilding and redeeming this place. It's beautiful. We probably have an average of 500 to 600 people right now on a Sunday. We have 177 regular givers in our church. Now, I've talked about money one other time since I've been here in 2.5 years. So I'm gonna talk a lot about it today. We have 177 regular givers to this church that have kept this place, not just afloat, right? I feel like we're thriving. 177. There's probably more than 177 people in this room right now. So this is what I want you to decide. If you have never given consistently and faithfully to Vertical Church, I want, number one, you to pray about becoming a regular giver to your church. Not out of guilt, not out of compulsion. I want you to pray about that. Because you see the life change that's happening in this place, and you see the beautiful ministry that's being done. Pray about becoming a regular giver. And you can do that on our website. You can set it up. It can go straight through your bank account. That's what my wife and I do. And commit to being a regular giver. And I'm not even gonna stand up here and tell you, you need to give the full 10%. No, you just need to start somewhere. Please start somewhere. I wanna increase 177 to 300 regular givers. That's my goal. After these next 2 weeks, my goal is to go from 177 regular givers to 300. In a church of roughly 600, I think we can do that. If you already give, and I'm asking our staff team to do this, I want you to pray about increasing your gift. It's not about stretching your budget, it's about stretching your faith. Our lives, the more that we follow Jesus, should be growing in generosity. They should be growing in generosity. But guess what? If we don't start now, then we're gonna continue to be drowning, not being able to make ends meet. And then the third thing that I want everyone to pray about this week is I want you to pray about a one-time gift of above and beyond your regular tithe. We're gonna have Giving Sunday next Sunday. And we're gonna do something that our church has never done before. And we launched our Make It Home campaign a year ago, and we said we wanna build a second building. And I felt the Lord say, hold on, son. And I felt this prompting that it was take care of the little that I've given you, and I will continue to make room for more. And so what we're gonna do is we still have dreams of a second building, but we wanna pack out our services and we want our community to grow before we do that. And so what we're gonna do on Giving Sunday is we're gonna completely refurnish our entire building. Not our office spaces, our entire building. I'm not joking when I say this. Our staff team has been the best staff team at stretching $1. Okay? We have been buying furniture off Facebook Marketplace, and I'm just not a fan. We've got legs breaking off of $300 couches. It looks worse than Hobby Lobby threw up in our green room discipleship space. You're like, I love Hobby Lobby. Bless you, bless your heart. And so we're gonna completely refurnish. We need 22 couches. We need 40 accent chairs. We need rugs. We need massive fake olive trees. We are gonna put new artwork and design on this massive wall outside of our lobby. We're gonna have new signage on our entire lobby. Why? Because we want this space to be a space that we're proud of, that the community that can come in and use. We host a mayor's prayer breakfast every year. We wanna host more community events. We wanna host more conferences. But we wanna have what we need in order to do that. If 300 people next Sunday commit to giving $250, we will meet our goal of $65,000. That's what it's gonna take. I know, it's a big number for us. We've never done anything like that, but I'm confident that we can do it. So I want you to pray about being a regular giver to Vertical Church. If you are a regular giver, I want you to pray about increasing your gift. I'm not gonna tell you by how much, that's between you and the Lord. And I want everybody to pray about coming back next Sunday and giving towards Giving Sunday. We need a new ice machine that I think someone is committed to buying for us too. This stuff's not cheap. That alone is like $6,000. All of that is accounted for in our Giving Sunday budget. I think we have some photos of it too that we want to do. Did we already show those as I was speaking or no? Yeah, so that's our green room space right now. We're calling it our discipleship space. We're not gonna have a green room anymore. It's our discipleship space, so everybody's welcome back there. We already host our men's and women's Bible study. We wanna revamp that, and we have a mood board for what we're gonna do back there. Just wanna show you guys the vision. This is gonna be all over our space next Sunday as we commit to giving to this. Here's our lobby. We're gonna have seating neighborhoods in our lobby. So we're gonna have 5 seating neighborhoods. That's what it's gonna look like. If you see our hallway right outside this building to my right, to all of our right, we're gonna make it like a coffee shop bistro hangout. We're gonna put artwork and design up on the wall. It's gonna be amazing. I wanted to get that on your minds and in your hearts because I didn't want everybody to show up next Sunday and go, wait, what is this about? Now you know what it's about. We wanna make it home. We want to sow seeds of generosity that make spaces for people to encounter God in his presence long after we're gone. We can do it. So, we're about to get a clap? Maybe? Fake clap? About to fire me up, man. Come on. We can do it. We can do it. We're already proud of our church, but I want all of us to walk in and be really proud of our church. So would you pray about those 3 decisions? And would you make a decision? Please. Let's pray. God, we come before you right now and we thank you for your generosity. We thank you that you're not a begrudging host. No, you're not. You expended what was most precious to you for us so that we could have hope, so that we could have a future. God, I pray over every single person in this room. I pray that you would increase our capacity to give, Lord. I pray that you would make us diligent with our resources. God, I pray that every single person in this church would take steps to be able to grow in generosity. And Lord, all of us can take steps, whatever that looks like, no matter how big, no matter how small. And I pray that you would use our generosity to advance your kingdom, multiply the harvest in ways that we could never imagine. I thank you for the work that's already been done. God, I thank you for the investment and the sacrifice of Hope for a Weekend. And I pray that this continues to snowball into something bigger than we could ever imagine, Lord. I pray that we would be people that would, through your Holy Spirit, remove the idols from our heart. Increase our capacity to give. May we lay our entire lives down before you. Our heart, our mind, our talents, our treasure, our resources, our very abilities. And we say we trust you, Jesus. Amen.